हरि ओम चिन्मयं व्यापिय सर्वं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. May His grace speak through me. Today we are taking up first mantra of first section of chapter 3 of Mundakopanishad. The mantra reads, Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakhaya Samanam Vriksham Parikshaswajate Tayoranya Pippalam Swadvatti Anasnanyo Abhijakashitai. This is the mantra. Now, the literal translation, two birds bound to each other in great friendship, birds of a feather, dwell on the same tree, flock together. One of them eats the fruits of the tree with great relish, enjoying the food, while the other just looks on without eating as a sakshi bhava, as a witness. This is the literal meaning of the mantra. Now, this is yet another famous mantra of this Upanishad. Not only famous but also to some extent controversial, born out of non-apprehension of the true meaning and its significance. The mantra is famous because it provides a pictorial representation of the important words, two words, so often used in Vedanta studies. The Jivatma and the Paramatma. Everyone would have heard this, everyone would have repeated this. The former, that is Jivatma, is represented by the bird that enjoys the fruits on the tree, and the latter, the Paramatma, is represented by the second bird that do not partake in the food available on the tree. One enjoying the food, the other not enjoying, not eating at all, not at all concerned with the food. It simply looks. Now, the controversy arose because the so-called Pandit class of a particular period have not been able to grasp the true meaning of the two words, Jivatma and Paramatma, in their entirety and depth. Let us therefore try and make an attempt to grasp their meaning and significance to the extent possible. Here, the tree is representing your full individuality, as how you introduce yourself to another man. I. This is how we introduce. I am, I was, I will be. The full I. But not the partial I that identifies with the body, that identifies with the mind, that identifies with the intellect. I am fat, I am thin, I am tall, I am lean. Then you are identifying with the body. I am sorrowful, I am happy, I am energetic. That you are identifying with the mind. I am an atheist. I don't believe in God. Where is the God? Which God? Why God? Huh? Then you are an intellect. Then you are identifying yourself with intellect. So there are times in our day-to-day life when we identify with the body, we identify with the mind, we identify with intellect. This bird that is now referred to here, who enjoys the food on the tree, that bird is the sum total, understand, has to be the sum total of the body, mind and intellect. The full I, that is why I said the full I. I hope I am clear. That is a tree. The tree is representing the individuality. My individuality, my tree. Not the BMI. The I, full I, not identifying with individuality, is the full tree. Now, imagine that, just imagine, I am very carefully using the word just only imagine. I am saying this only for the purpose of an example, and it should not be carried too far. Just imagine that in your heart there is a transformer. Don't get worried. Only nothing wrong in your thinking. Just imagine. Imagine that in your heart there is a transformer to store and distribute energy. Again, pure imagination, please. It is an imaginary sadhanam, like equator. It's an imaginary. I'm repeating that word again and again so that you will not carry the transformer too far. Now it is from this transformer that energy is supplied to your body, mind and intellect equipment, including your very heart where the transformer is placed. The functioning of the heart also requires energy. Both the medical heart and the spiritual heart, both. Therefore, the imaginary transformer is one part of your individuality. Carefully think please, it's a bit complicated here. The imaginary transformer is one part of your individuality. It is a part of you. And the rest of the body, mind and intellect, with the energy pulsating in all their manifestations, is a second part. I hope I'm getting it clear. The supreme Atman, the self, the reality which is in you, unaffected, is represented by the transformer. It is you, it is a storehouse of energy. The other part is your body, your mind, your intellect pulsating with energy. The body is perceiving, the mind is feeling, the intellect is thinking, fully energized. That full energized active equipment together constitute the other bird, the other individuality. The two birds, therefore, the transformer, one, and the other BMI with power supply, the second bird. Now, for God's sake, please don't go and talk to somebody, say that in Mundaka Upanishad, it is very beautifully said about a story about two birds. One bird is a transformer. Please don't say that. Please drop this transformer after you understand the concept. So for the two birds, the transformer and the other BMI, body, mind and intellect equipment with power supply. Now please understand that the transformer is full of energy. The body, mind and intellect is also charged with energy and are in full working condition as the perceiver, feeler and thinker. These are therefore the two birds, the transformer, the storehouse of energy, and a bundle of body, mind and intellect put together, fully charged with energy and ever ready to do their respective jobs of perceiving, feeling and thinking. The perceiver, feeler and thinker, through the body, mind, intellect equipment, make a sojourn to the outer world of objects, emotions and thoughts. I hope you got it. The perceiver, the feeler, the thinker, the individuality, the ego in me, through the body, mind and intellect equipment, either through one or through two or three, all the three, make a sojourn to the outer world of objects, emotions and thoughts. The perceiver, objects, feeler, emotions, thinker, thoughts, and gathers million types of experiences in our life. The experiences like heat and cold, winter and summer, joy and sorrow, pleasure and pain, success and failure, praise and censure, called in Vedantic literature as pairs of opposites known as dvandvas. These dvandvas or pairs of opposites or experiences are gained when the sense organs of perception, what are they? The eye, the ear, the tongue, the nose, the skin. The sense organs of perception, the jnanendriyas, come in contact with the sense objects or the stimuli. Who are they? The form, the sound, the taste, the smell, the touch. So when the sense organs of perception come in contact with the sense objects or stimuli, then there is an experience. If the sense organs remained quiet, the body, mind, intellect, or the five sense organs, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the touch, the skin, they remain quiet, like in the deep sleep. The sense objects would not attract them. The sense objects don't go to them. The sense organs will come to the sense objects. The objects don't go to the organs. The organ go to the objects. We go to the market and buy. There is no home delivery. So if the sense organs remained quiet at home, the sense objects would not attract them and hence there would be no contact with the sense objects. Hence there will be no experience to me. A situation happened today may become an experience to me only when my sense organs or my mind comes in contact with that stimuli. The event must have happened, but I have not seen with my sense objects, with sense organs. I have not seen, I have not heard, I have not touched, I have not tasted, I have not smelt, I have not felt, I have not thought. My BMI has not come in contact with the sense objects, the stimuli, and therefore there is no experience for me. Although the event must have happened. The Kerala State Lottery might have pulled up a number as the first prize in the draw. They are beginning. Next draw is on 18th. Those who conduct the lottery will not be excited because it is irrelevant to them. They detach themselves from whoever gets the first prize. They are not bothered. Every day it happens. So those who conduct the lottery will not be excited as they are not relevant to them. But the next day, when my eyes see the number printed on the newspaper, my sense organ, the eye, comes in contact with the sense object or the stimuli, the newspaper, immediately thereafter alone, I keep jumping up and down. Not before. When the event took place, I do not do it. I do not jump up and down. When the lottery, the ticket is taken, I don't jump up and down. Because I have no experience at that point in time. My sense organs, my mind and my intellect have not contacted that stimuli of lottery drawing. Similarly, an experience that gives you unhappiness, say an accident, God forbid, or a death of your dear and near, or whom you know very well, the tragedy is felt or experienced only when you experience the event. That is why sometimes you read that 8th column of the newspaper and suddenly jump up from the breakfast coffee when you are having and say, huh? He died yesterday. But you are having that knowledge of his death only today, and therefore the experience about his death is today, and therefore you feel sorrow. The tragedy is felt only when you experience the event, and you are able to experience the event because your sense organs are powered for action by the energy received from the inbuilt transformer. It is therefore because of the energy that is powered in your BMI, body, mind and intellect, that you are capable of an experience. Otherwise, the body, mind and intellect it's calcium, carbon, phosphorus. It is pure, inert, insentient junk of material. The pairs of opposites are only for the experiencer. I feel elated about the lottery ticket, but the other man do not feel elated at all. He himself has not taken a lottery ticket. I feel sorrow at the death of my friend, but the death of that friend do not cause agony to a friend of mine who is not interested in him. So the pairs of opposites, joy or sorrow, pleasure or pain, success or failure, are only for the experiencer. He is the doer and enjoyer, and therefore he is the experiencer. The doership and enjoyership is exclusively on him. What you call the kartrutva bhava and the bhoktritva bhava. Your body, mind and intellect takes upon itself as the doer and the enjoyer and consequently come to enjoy or suffer the results of the experience or its consequences. The body, mind, intellect bird, powered with energy, therefore enjoys the fruits grown on the tree, meaning its fruits of action, the karma phala. It eats own karma phala. It eats its own karma phala because his activities were fully laden with doership and enjoyership, with ego-centric desires. Now the transformer on the other side, ever energetic, not conditioned by any body, mind and intellect upadhis, do not gather any experience, and hence it does not enjoy the pleasure or suffer the pain. Simple. Therefore the Rishi says that bird do not eat any fruit of the tree, but just observes his friend bird, sometimes enjoying and sometimes suffering, and ever busy gathering of experiences. The transformer is called Paramatma, and the body, mind and internal equipment powered fully with charged with energy is called the Jivatma. Both seated inside or side by side in juxtaposition, one experiencing pleasure and sorrow and the other remaining unaffected by the pleasure and sorrow of the body, mind and intellect equipment. Neither the transformer nor its supply of energy present in the body, mind and intellect are not affected by the Jivatma, because when the Jivatma relinquishes his body, mind and intellect, the energy is separated, the Sat is separated, the essence is separated, and the body, mind and intellect goes back to the five great elements from where it came. And for whatever reason, when the BMI relinquishes the energy in it supplied by the transformer, merges back to the transformer. Again, please, I join my hands together and do namaskaram to you. Please take the transformer example only for the purpose of understanding the concept. And once you understand the concept, drop it like a hot cake. Never carry it too far. So this is how the poet in the Rishi emerges out to give you a pictorial representation of two birds, the Jivatma and the Paramatma, dwelling in the same tree, flock together on the same tree, but the one enjoying the pleasure, suffering the pain, and the other neither affected by sorrow nor affected by pleasure. Dukkeshu advigmana sukheshu vigadaspraha. He is not elated in joy, he is not depressed in sorrow, because he doesn't experience. So that is a picture presented today to us. Let us contemplate on that theme, and let us see what the Rishi has to teach us tomorrow in the next mantra. Till then, Hari Om to all of you.